Thank you for joining us. Our special today is on health, and our guests are Dr. Richard Gaines, who specializes in preventative and age management medicine, and Bill Faloon, who has dedicated a lifetime researching the diseases of aging and how to cure and even reverse aging. Recent breakthroughs have led several billion-dollar companies to support this cause. And joining us also is Brian Delaney, president of the Age Reversal Network. They'll share their thoughts on this following these messages.
Life Extension magazine brings you new discoveries in health and anti-aging. Our science-based research and supplements are so advanced they're many years ahead of the medical mainstream, with quality control standards that exceed FDA mandates. Life Extension has covered groundbreaking medical research for more than 35 years. For your health and future, you deserve the best. Learn more at lifeextension.com.
Carrier asks, what does comfort mean to you? Is it a cool breeze on a scorching day? Or a cozy corner on a cold night? That every room of the house is as inviting as the next. And the air is fresh and clean for everyone. That humidity is where it belongs. At Carrier, comfort means more than just the temperature. And the people who invented modern air conditioning keep inventing new ways to make you comfortable, however you define it.
When I was young, it seemed that life was so wonderful, a miracle. Oh, it was beautiful, magical. And then they showed me a world where I could be so dependable. Oh, intellectual, cynical.
Find magic again. Sprout by HP. With Intel RealSense technology inside, now you can bend the rules of creativity outside.
With us now is Bill Faloon and Dr. Richard Gaines. A pleasure to have you with us, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
Bill, always a pleasure. I always say what exciting times. Things are progressing so terribly fast. Share with us what's going on, Bill.
Well, what's happened over the last couple of years is a number of clinical trials. Those are studies in people in which various age reversal interventions have been studied. The results from the trials that are successful are now transforming into clinical medical practice. We can take people who are older and at least partially reverse some of their degenerative aging processes.
Fascinating.
For sure.
And Dr. Gaines, our first encounter with you,
great.
A pleasure. And you actually are in Boca Raton, Florida, and you're doing something very, very new. Please share with our audience what that is.
My practice, I'm a clinician, and I practice age management medicine. I've practiced for over 20 years. And basically it's really, what we're trying to do is instill a good lifestyle, replace things that we lose as we age, and contribute to health span. You know, there's something called longevity, where you live longer for a long period of time, and health span, where you live quality years. And that's where I really focus my energies. At Life Gains up in Boca now, we have been introducing intravenous therapy, and specifically something called senolytic therapy, which we can talk about here. But as we age, again, we lose things like hormones, we lose various peptides in our blood, we lose substances like NAD. NAD decreases as we age. It's one of the things I concentrate on replacing. And Bill and I have come up with some very good therapy which has been proven to increase quality of life and health span.
And what a lot of people don't understand is the magnitude of the decline in NAD that occurs with normal aging. A person who's 50 years of age has 40% less than a person 20. By the time a person reaches 80, they may be down to only 1 to 8% of the NAD that a 20-year-old has. And age 80 is a typical age in which people die in this country. Once NAD reaches 0, life can no longer be sustained. It's that essential.
How has this changed in the last 100 years?
Well, 100 years ago, they were trying to cure bacterial infections, often ineffectively. Now that we can largely control bacterial and viral diseases, the major problem is degenerative aging. And we are now able to not only slow it, improve the quality of life, which is so important, but also, we believe, extend healthy longevity. So a person who may have been projected to die at 93 may be healthy enough to sustain a lot more years, good years, not crippled years.
Yeah, my point is how fascinating it is that technology has had such an influence in such short years, from last century until today, the last 30, 40 years. Please elaborate on that a little.
Absolutely. You know, the quality of the studies that have been done and the research, the medical research, clinical research supports what we do. For instance, I mean, I'll just pick something, hormone replacement therapy. As we age, we lose hormone. There's no doubt about it. Everyone decreases, their organs decrease producing these hormones, and we develop not necessarily, it's not necessarily causation, but we develop degenerative disease, Alzheimer's, osteoporosis, diabetes, coronary artery disease, frailty, fractured hips. These things can be largely decreased with just replacement of specific hormones and nutrients that we start lacking as we age. That's just one thing. Now, you know, Bill pointed out very well in the lecture tonight that we have to take care of our house, the basement especially. You have to take care of these basics, and that includes hormone replacement, your blood pressure, cholesterol. These things can be taken care of. The next level is doing things like senolytic therapy, where you clean your body out of these older cells, which is sending bad signals to every other cell in the body. Cleaning these cells out, we know in studies, will increase your health span and longevity.
Bill, show us these slides and please explain, elaborate on that point.
Well, the Mayo Clinic was able to demonstrate, this was published in July 2018, not that long ago, that when they induced senolytic therapy in old mice, the old mice improved their physical function, which is a way of describing improved health span, but they also lived 36% longer. And these were mice, the human equivalent of 75 to 90 years of age. And what that means is elderly people who may think it's too late to do anything, at least this Mayo Clinic study showed that they can improve their health span and their longevity simply by removing, very selectively, senescent cells that have accumulated in their body that create chronic inflammatory reactions and emit protein-degrading enzymes that causes cells surrounding the senescent cell to also die or become senescent.
And you, sir, you are opening the first senolytic treatment clinic, I believe, in the United States.
I am, and I am proud to do so in coordination with Bill. We have protocol, and we are in the process of obtaining certain medications that are very, very costly. We're trying to get those medications at a reasonable price for the patients. We will be collecting data as we go forward, and adding, after 6 months, we'll have data and markers of improvement. We'll add other things, and we've talked about it, and one of those things are exosomes that we may add, which are mesenchymal cell exosomes, which actually create a healing environment throughout the whole body. And there's myriad studies showing the benefits of providing exosomes.
Yeah, the objective is systemic regeneration of elderly people. It's one thing to improve an organ function here and there, but if we don't systemically, in other words, whole body rejuvenate, the person's eventually going to succumb to something. And the good news is the senolytic therapies, we may have just found out tonight that we can obtain them for about 90% less than what they cost normally at a typical American pharmacy. That the compounding pharmacists are going to be able to make dose-specific prescriptions for patients. And it's dosed, by the way, by body weight. If you weigh a certain amount of weight, you're prescribed a certain amount of Senolytic drug.
Please tell us more about the cost of medications.
Well, starting in the 1980s, our life extension group published articles. We ran full-page ads in the Miami Herald, the Sun Sentinel, exposing what then were exorbitant prices for medications. There was a Parkinson's drug called Depranyl. It cost 50 cents each in Europe. It was selling for $3 in the United States. Nowadays, you've got drugs costing hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per pill. It's absurd. It's an absolute ripoff that the pharmaceutical industry is engaged in, and we have exposed this. I have since written dozens of books that explain what the pharmaceutical industry is doing to both delay the introductions of effective medications so that their patented versions can remain on the market longer, and how they overcharge. To say at a minimum, they grossly overcharge for drugs that cost them nothing to make, and they mark them up tens of thousands of %.
Absolutely astonishing that such misbehavior is tolerated in this world.
It's, you know what, I'm not sure if it's a conspiracy or just capitalism at work. I mean, for instance, with hormone replacement therapy, testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, these are hormones that decrease as we age. These hormones cannot be invented. They are human hormones, but they can be cannibalized and made into monster hormones and sold by Big Pharma and patented. Well, those have been proven not to be very healthy. The human hormones are what we really need. The cost of them is really minimal. But you know, Big Pharma gets in there and the prices just go up. And I think they encouraged the use of their patented medications, and they discouraged the use of these natural products because of capitalism.
Well, I think it's a lot more significant than that.
I'm being a nice guy.
They basically file petitions with the FDA to make an argument that the FDA should stop the sale of natural bioidentical hormones. And the FDA took some steps to do that. Thank goodness the compounding pharmacies, for the most part, ignored it, and people still have access to affordable bioidentical hormones. Their doctor can prescribe it. They can get them from a compounding pharmacy. The cost is very nominal. And not only are there these health benefits, but for the most part, people feel better when they restore their testosterone in men and their progesterone and estrogen balance in women. Older people feel better when hormone replacement is properly done. Dr. Gaines is an expert at doing this type of restoration.
Absolutely. It's one of the most rewarding things I see. As a matter of fact, even in middle-aged men, who the average level, I'll just tell you, the average level of testosterone has dropped about over 30% since the 1960s in this country. Who knows why? Could be something in the food, the environment, whatever it is. I have younger men, 55 years old or so. When you replace their hormones, not only do they feel better, their cardiac function is better, their cholesterol improves, et cetera, their motivation and thought processing improves. There's no doubt about it. One of the most concentrated areas of testosterone receptors is the human brain.
It is incredible. When I was 44 years of age, I was feeling old, and I had my blood tested, and my testosterone was very low. I replaced it. Within 3 weeks, I was like a young person again. And I continue to use a testosterone cream just simply to maintain my levels where they were when I was young. It's not the type that bodybuilders inject or anything, but it is enough to get me to a physiological young age as it relates to my testosterone. And I'm turning 65 very soon, and I feel and I behave a lot younger.
If only technology was implemented in all areas, how many problems in our world could be resolved, whether environmental, education, health, and so forth, and how much suffering could be prevented, really.
A lot.
So where are we today, Bill? This is such an historic time. Where are we actually?
We are in the midst of a biomedical renaissance where technologies are emerging almost daily that are indicative of either delaying or reversing biological aging. This is unprecedented. This era started in year 2014. We're only 5 years into it, and we've already been able to clinically demonstrate in people what we're observing in animal studies.
And I'm honored to be involved with Bill Faloon with this new technology and the protocols that we're going to be offering to my clinical patients. So it's a very exciting period of time.
Dr. Gaines, how can people reach you?
I have a website. It's called lifegains.com. Lifegaines. All the information is there to contact me, telephone, and everything we do to increase health span.
And Bill, same question to you.
Well, we set up the Age Reversal Network. This is a public benefit group that disseminates scientific information. It costs no money to enroll on our website to get emails every couple weeks, and it's age-reversal.net. You should put it up on the screen so people can see it. And again, they can look at the website, look at the science that's supporting what we're doing, and locate doctors like Dr. Gaines that are prescribing these therapies. And there's very few parts of the country that have doctors like this. People living in South Florida should appreciate it.
I hope they do. Gentlemen, a real pleasure and honor. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bill, as always. We'll be right back. We're back with Bill Faloon, and joining us is Brian Delaney. Brian, good to greet you back on the show.
Good to be here.
I was just thinking, the last time I had you on the show, you were tied to a chair with an NAD or some other infusion. We
That's
were
right.
doing an interview live. That was fascinating. First time I ever did that in 30 years.
Well, it was a great experience to get the NAD and to be interviewed.
Share with us, where are we in your research today, Brian?
Well, my research is pretty much the same as Bill's. I mean, where we have come in that, it's been about a year and a half, actually. It's amazing how much progress we've made. I mean, I came here, that was when you filmed me, I had just joined Bill, pretty much that exact week. And since then, we've validated, at least partially, senolytic treatments, NAD restoration therapy. It's really astonishing how much work has been done in just a year and a half. And my own personal work continues with the Calorie Restriction Society. And there have been new studies coming out about different forms of restricting eating and getting benefits. It's very preliminary, but there are easier ways to do it, and that's what I've been speaking about lately, involving time-restricted feeding, which refers to having a narrow eating window within a day, or intermittent fasting, which is a longer period of fasting, maybe a day or 2 days every week or every 10 days, and then periodic longer fasts, or near fast, so it's not 0 calories per day, but maybe just a few hundred per day, 5 or 6 days in a row every month or maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah, a cliche I try to use with people is that the less you eat, as long as it's not malnutrition, the less you eat, you will probably live a lot longer. And you're going to reduce your risk of the common degenerative disorders. So there's a lot to be said about the intermittent type of fasting, which I do basically 15 hours most days. I don't eat. And it doesn't bother me that much. I've gotten into a cycle where I wake up in the morning and I've already slept 8 hours. I can go another 8 to 10 hours working. Black coffee's okay, by the way, and that kind of takes the edge off an appetite. I'll take a metformin. That also reduces appetite. Metformin's a prescription drug that has been shown to extend lifespan, prevent certain aspects of aging. So there's ways to use the time frame of when you eat to benefit your body by essentially giving your body a break from the constant bombardment of calories.
And you can get more work done. It's amazing. I mean, 1 meal a day, or maybe 2 instead of 3, saves you time. And you know, people like us, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the savings in time. By the way, coffee will increase autophagy a little bit. So it's actually something, one of the reasons that we want to fast is this phenomenon of autophagy, sometimes pronounced autophagy. It's basically the self-eating of a cell. The cell will use up old damaged components within itself and reuse them to make new components. And that's a great way to regenerate a cell. And that happens all the time, a little bit, but if you go without food, it'll happen even more. And you have a little coffee, it happens even more.
Yeah, people realize that as they age, you've got an accumulation of waste products in your cells. And as long as you keep eating 3 or 4 times a day, your cells never get a chance to clear up that accumulated debris. So a proven method by many scientific studies is that if you can induce autophagy, the cell's going to be healthier and your body's going to live longer.
Well, it is all extremely fascinating, and you, Brian, are bravely self-medicating, self-experimenting. I think both of you do. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we both do. Well, my dietary experiments, I mean, I started pretty extreme version of dietary restriction when I was 29. That was quite a long time ago. And I maybe even took it too far. I don't know, I was young, so my body probably could tolerate it better than some people could. But my biomarkers went from bad, generally, a couple were okay, to stellar within about 4 or 5 months. Unfortunately, it's hard for a lot of people, and I have to admit, even though I'm president of the CR Society, even for me, it's hard to sustain that level of restriction for a long time. It's not simply the hunger, but the societal pressure to eat normally. It was difficult. Now, this was normal daily restriction. This is before the research about these intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating window studies came out. So we didn't really know about that. Had I known about that, I think it would have been easier. I would have just fasted, and then I have to go to a dinner party. I can have a pretty normal dinner. That experimentation with my own diet continues, and I have been trying basically, I think, literally every protocol that we have developed. I think that's literally true. I haven't tried exosomes yet, but that's coming soon. Okay. But everything else I've tried because I feel like I need to make sure it works and that it's safe. And I'm out there talking about it, and Bill has as well. I mean, we're out there talking about these things. People want to know, well, if it's so safe, why haven't you tried them? Well, we have.
Bill does, yes. Bill, you've been in the forefront of this research for, good Lord, 30 years. Share with our audience why this period right now is just about the most exciting in your career, actually.
Well, we formalized a group to enable people to live a long time back in 1977. It took 3 years before we got any traction whatsoever. We started publishing an anti-aging newsletter, and we slowly grew. It wasn't until year 2014 where the realistic prospect of reversing biological aging was manifest. They were doing parabiosis studies where they would hook up a young mouse to an old mouse, the circulatory systems would merge, and that old mouse would grow younger. And that meant, well, age reversal is possible. It's just a matter of how do we apply that to people. And that's where these stem cell exosomes come in. We're still doing studies, but some of them that have already been done are extremely encouraging. The exosomes from stem cells reprogram our older cells to behave younger. And if we can validate that further, I think it'll be one of the priority age reversal interventions that people engage in.
Such exciting times. Brian, before we conclude, what statement would you have?
I would say to anyone out there who wants to live longer, and I hope that's everyone watching this, be bold. Try some of these things and try to support the research to make the treatments improve and get fine-tuned and to help us discover new ones.
Tell our audience how they can reach you in order to support the work you're doing.
Well, our group is called Age Reversal Network, and we have a website that is age-reversal.net. And that's where we have our updates. You can sign up to get email updates. It's not too frequent, maybe just every 2 or 3 weeks. Other announcements about new findings. So that's the best way to reach us.
Bill, a final comment from you, please.
Well, we live in a remarkable era where just like 6, 7 years ago, I had some wealthy people offer me a lot of money to do research, and I had to say no, because there was no research that we could really practically engage in that would enable them to grow younger. And again, starting in 2014 and continuing, there's more research to fund than what there are research dollars to support. So yes, we do appreciate when people say, I don't only want to participate in a study, I want to help financially support it.
Absolutely amazing and fascinating. Ryan, thank you so much for being with us again.
Thank you, Richard.
Bill, as always, I'll be right back.
Cancer, heart disease, neurological disorders. Nanotechnology and nanomedicine hold the promise of new breakthroughs in the diagnosis and treatment of some of the world's most devastating diseases.
Nanotechnology is about manipulating and controlling materials at the nanoscale, meaning at the level of the individual atom.
I'll give you a simple example how small atoms are. If you take a size of an apple and you compare that to Earth, that's the same ratio as an atom to an apple, just to give you how small these things are.
Nanomedicine is how we take these very small structures and we apply them to either cure or detect diseases. So it could be a little bead which we put drugs inside and inject into the body, and that bead will protect the drug from being attacked by your body. It can also make very, very small channels on silicon chips, and we can sort blood cells out on a little silicon chip. We can put a whole lab and put it on a chip.
Two leaders in medicine and science, Cleveland Clinic and the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, are joining forces in creating the Virtual Center for Transformative Nanomedicine, with the goal of harnessing the power of nanoscience to revolutionize healthcare.
Here you have two entities, world leaders in their particular area, the Hebrew University in the area of nanomedicine, nanodrug delivery, and the Cleveland Clinic, one of the premier medical centers in the world, are joining forces to synergistically try to combat some of the problems that have eluded us.
And what I saw there was a very engaged group of people who were working in world-class facilities for nanotechnology, particle characterization, pharmacology, are world-class and beyond compare.
Hebrew University is well recognized in the world and one of the institutions that put in the market more than 7 drugs. Out of the 7 drugs, 2 were really nanomedicine.
Cleveland Clinic is just amazing in their capabilities of translating things. And I see this as a perfect fit for taking things that are preclinical and helping them reach the clinic.
A partnership that will advance innovations from the lab to the patient's bedside in a way that has never been done before.
If we can identify the cohort of patients using sensors and saliva tests or urine tests that put people at elevated risk, then we can begin to look much more closely at them. But to make all that happen, we need new sensors, new devices, new ways to identify markers and then intervene to make their lives better. I think the promise for this is once we get it right, we can really change things forever.
Life Extension magazine brings you new discoveries in health and anti-aging. Our science-based research and supplements are so advanced they're many years ahead of the medical mainstream, with quality control standards that exceed FDA mandates. Life Extension has covered groundbreaking medical research for more than 35 years. For your health and future, you deserve the best. Learn more at lifeextension.com.
This brings us to the end of our special show for today. I'm Brooke Ramus. Thank you for being with us.